Okay, so this is our third session with me. And the topic for this session is Introduction to World Cinema, right? So we'll be talking about the world cinema in a nutshell. Obviously, we cannot go so much into details. And then we'll be also talking about the importance of film festivals. Obviously, the output that we are coming up with, the films that we are making, the cinema that we are making, creating, it should be having some market, right? So we'll be talking about the film festivals and the importance of these film festivals in a nutshell again. So when we are talking about world cinema, majorly we are talking about cinema of African cinema. We are talking about Asian cinema, American cinema, European cinema. So again, it's a vast, area. So it is very, very difficult to cover all these cinemas in a very, small span of time. It might take, a few months to actually understand all the cinemas if we are talking about world cinema. But there are some techniques, there are some methods that how we can explore the world cinema in a short time or short duration. So how we can explore? We can explore country-wise, era-wise. Era-wise, when we are saying, that means obviously the silent era, sound era, color era, golden era, and contemporary era. So we can pick one particular country. Maybe we have picked European cinema, and then we can talk about different eras and different filmmakers and their films. That's one way. Second way is we can talk about film movements. Film movements are something very important thing that we have got in our world cinema. And obviously, when we are saying movement, that means there's something, some style, some trend that is moving from one country to another. That's why we are calling it movements, right? So we can talk about film movements also, and we can explore world cinema, right? How a film movement started from one particular country and then it has moved to another country. Okay, third way of doing it, just talk about filmmakers, good filmmakers, maybe Alfred Hitchcock, Akira Kurosawa, maybe Satyajit Ray. We are talking about all these golden era filmmakers, film directors, and then they explore their films and then come to contemporary period. How the contemporary filmmakers, like we were talking about Mani Ratnam in our last session, how these contemporary filmmakers of different country, they have actually contributed to cinema. So we can explore their work, their films, their style of filmmaking. This is another way. I will pick the second way for this particular session if I'm going to explore the world cinema. So my second way is called film movements. As I have already told you, one simple meaning of film movement, that is, it's a trend, it's a style, it's a form of filmmaking. Film movement is a trend, a style, a form of filmmaking, right? So this trend, this movement, this style, it is actually moving from one country to another country, and then the filmmakers are actually adopting it, applying it, incorporating it in their cinema. But how they develop this style and why they develop this style? When we are saying it's some trend, it's a style or form. So film movement is a wave of films usually following a particular trend in cinema of the time. These films have cultural origins usually influenced by national tragedy, popular culture, or social issues. That means something has big happened in a particular country, some incident, maybe like World War I, right? National tragedy. So something big happened in a particular country, the filmmaker of that particular, country tried to depict that tragedy, that incident through their films. They try to project such tragedy or incident through their films in order to show this tragedy, this popular culture, or any social issues. They adopt some kind of style, some kind of form. Like if we are showing something about World War One, so the filmmaker, when they are depicting this kind of national tragedy or global tragedy, then they will follow some kind of style. That style may be related to the character, related to the set and properties, related to entire, the camera work they are using. So they have developed a new style of filmmaking in order to depict, in order to present this kind of tragedy. We will come to the examples also, it will be more clear. For this point of time, you should understand that film movement is a trend, a style or form of filmmaking that is moving from one country to another country. That means other countries' filmmakers are also following that particular style. And why we are putting that movement word? Because it is moving from one country to another. A very simple example. There was a, concern, there was an issue of Me Too movement. Me Too movement means something has faced something, and that movement was not restricted till her. She has moved it. She has moved it through social media, through different medias. And the other people also, started talking about their movement, their Me Too movement. So it has taken a wave, a revolution it has taken. It has, started moving from one place to another place, one person to another person. So it has become a movement. So just like that, there is a bigger, broader term which is called film movement. Means the film is not moving. We are not showing that particular film to different countries. It's a distribution. It's called distribution. But the style, the form of that particular film is moving from one country to another country. This is film movement. So talk about major film movements and important film movements till date. If we talk about in the world cinema, we have four important film movements. First one is German Expressionism. Second one is Soviet montage. Third is Italian neorealism. Fourth one is French New Waves. We do have other film movements also, but these are so relevant and constantly present in the world cinema. They are not dying. If German Expressionism started in 1920s, right, still in the contemporary films or cinema, we can see German Expressionism movement present in today's film. We'll discuss about it. So we have these four important movements. So we'll be discussing about these movements in detail and exploring the world cinema. So let's take first, and as the name, you can see from the name also that where they started. If we are saying German Expressionism, just look at the first word, German, means it was started in Germany. If you are saying Soviet montage, this movement started in Soviet Union, Russia. If you are saying Italian neorealism, it started in Italy. When we are saying French New Wave, started in France. So let's talk about German Expressionism started in Germany. It was started before and during World War I. The duration for World War I was 1914 to, sorry, it's a mistake from my side, 19. Okay. So the World War I was from 14 to 19. So this German Expressionism as a movement, as a style of filmmaking started before and during World War I. So why it is started? This is very important for us as a trainer, as a teacher, to know that why this particular movement started, because we have already said all these movements is a result from or influenced by national tragedy or popular culture, social issue. So it is very important what was happening in that particular country, what was happening in Germany. Then we will come to the film movement. So during this time, there was a lot of insecurity. World War is arriving, and what will happen? People, they were scared. There was fear in the minds of the people, the citizen. So what the political leaders did, they started, they started asking the filmmakers to make the propaganda films for them. Propaganda films means to promote their parties. The filmmakers were engaged, and they started making propaganda films. For whom? For these people, for political leaders. Now when they were making films, obviously the filmmakers will bring their creative mind in that. So while making the propaganda films, they actually followed a particular style. And what was that style? The filmmaker thought over it, that what we should highlight. So they thought that we will highlight the fear, we will create the fear inside in the minds of the citizen or the audience when they will watch the films. And that fear will be so frightening, horrified, that they will look for the solution for that. And then these political leaders will come in the film, and they will say that we will protect you from such thing, such war, such battle. So come and support our political parties. So are you getting the structure? They are playing with the fear of the citizen, of the audience. One. Second, in order to bring the citizen, the innocent people, citizen or the audience or the poor people, in order to bring them out from this fear, horrified fear, the political powers, the powerful people on another side, they are coming and they are promising, they are committing that they will take them out from such tragedy. So we have three important things, three important components when we are talking about the style of German Expressionism. One, fear. That fear is in the center. On the left side, we have the powerful people like leaders. They have extra powers, right? On the right side, we have poor people, poor citizen, weak audience, right? So they cannot face, they cannot do anything about this fear. So they want someone, they want to, someone like, messenger of God, who is coming and taking them out from this fear. So this is the entire style of German Expressionism that they have tried to create in their films in order to promote any party or make the propaganda films. Along with that, they were showing high angles. High angle is for what? High angles is to show the character weak. High angles are to show the character and situation weak. They have deep shadows. Why deep shadows? In order to give a horrified effect. They have extreme camera tilting, tilting up, tilting down, right? In order to capture the space, the ambience. So like this, they have impossible sets. But these sets are unreal. So they used to even paint these sets, right? These are the feature of German Expressionism. Now, for examples, I have this film, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Just look at the poster. You can see a character which is very horrified. You can see two characters, an innocent character who's lying over there, and then another character who's, who's horrifying this innocent character. And there is one character who's played by doctor whose name is Dr. Caligari. So it's his cabinet, whatever is happening in his cabinet, all these activities. So just look at this set that we are talking about. This is painted set. It has that horrified effect. Look at the characters, their expressions, emotions, whether the negative character or positive character, powerful character or weak character, they all are horrified. We cannot, normally see them. We cannot normally, think or see these kind of characters like in our, in our surrounding. So that's why we are saying impossible sets and characters are with their exaggerated over the top expressions and emotions. Why we have exaggerated over the top expressions and emotions? Because we are working on a very important key word, which is fear. In order to highlight this fear, we are doing what? We are actually working with the expressions of the character, emotions of the character. That's why the name of the movement is called German Expressionism. We are highlighting this fear with expressionism, right? With their strong expressions, right? So this is one of the example from the film The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Another example is of Metropolis. Metropolis is another example, and it is first science fiction. Remember, in my first session, I have asked you to watch a short film, A Trip to the Moon, that came in 1902. It's a short science fiction film made by George Méliès. And after that, the very first science fiction film was Metropolis, made in 1927. So in this particular science fiction, you can just see the poster, look at the set, look at the character in the center. They are not normal sets. They are not normal characters. They are very, very frightened and very horrified. We can see, the audience can get, with fear, they can get frightened looking at these such characters. So again, in order to bring that fear out, in order to enhance the fear, the filmmaker is creating such kind of characters. Also, we have also talked about the high angle shots. Look at both the posters. We have tried to take the high angle shots so that we can cover the sets also, even what is happening with the character also. Then we can move to the close-ups. And then shadows. If you watch the film, there are a lot of use of shadows. You can see the sets also. They have used, angulic shapes in both the sets, angulic shapes of the building, architecture. Or you can see the, whatever is painted, they have painted in a very angulic manner. Means angulic creates some kind of, anti-smoothing feel. We are not getting any smoothing feel or happy or joyful feel after watching these angulic shapes. So this is the another thing. Now, it is also very important that it was started in Germany, this kind of, filmmaking, film style, then it moved to another country, the other part of American, cinemas, European cinemas, other European cinemas, and also Indian cinema, other Asian cinemas. So they started making and following such kind of, filmmaking style. Now, my question is, do you really think that we still have German expressionism in our films today? Any of you can answer it. Do you really think that we have films based on German expressionism? If we see today's films, just try, any one of you.
Sir, if it's a propaganda film, then maybe they could have elements of German expressionism in them.
Can you name any film? If I'm saying particularly, I'm saying I'm giving you hints that we do see German expressionism in commercial films also, the films that you normally see on screen. So can you just recall any of the film with, film's name and say, yes, I've seen such kind of style in that particular film? Commercial films, popular films.
The actions, the action film.
Like, any example?
Like a lot of American film, Hollywood film, a lot of actions, a lot of special characters for fighting, shooting. I can't. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay.
I can't remember clear the name, but like the California man, he famous a long time ago, and he has always on the 5 film hero film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me help you. I understand because these movements are not just the historical movements. We need to understand, we need to relate. As a trainer, we have to relate all these movements with our present scenario. And all these movements are present, very much present in our today's, films, today's cinema. And I'm not saying only the art cinema, experimental cinema, no, commercial cinema also. So let me give you the example. All these superhero films, all the horror films, and yes, action films also. Just recall what was the important, structure of German expressionism. Okay, fine, they were making propaganda films, but how this style was conserved after the World War I, when these political leaders, they went away, like the filmmakers still they were using this style. So they were not making propaganda films. This Metropolis is not propaganda film. This Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is not propaganda film. So they have adopted this style, and this style is very much present today also. Now let me relate it with horror films that we are watching these days. What is happening in horror films? We have a particular section or characters who are very innocent. They are living in their home. They are weaker. On the left side, weaker people. And then some fear, some paranormal activities, some ghost kind of things they are facing or experiencing. That is the center thing, the fear of something. Then on the right side of this fear is what? Some people, maybe Fadri from church, maybe priest from temple, maybe some scholar or professor from religious background who is coming and helping these weaker society. So we have three important components present over here that we have discussed for German expressionism. In center, we have fear of some ghost, some paranormal activities. On other side, we have weaker section. They cannot do anything about it. They are struggling, facing this fear. And on other side of this fear, we have some people who have some extra powers. They look different. What they wear, how they talk, they look little different, and because they have power. The father, the priest, the people from these religious church, they have different costumes, they have different approach, and they have certain powers also, right? So these people are helping these innocent people and taking them out from this fear. So see this structure still present in horror films. Again, supernatural films, citizens, they are living their life very nicely in a society. Then some some powerful negative character comes who's destroying their society, but these innocent people, they cannot do anything. So who comes? The Superman comes, the Superwoman comes. They are actually helping these citizens and taking out from this particular fear, tragedy, or whatever is happening. This is superhero films, right? So this is how German expressionism with revised features, with revamped features, they have actually still present in today's cinema. So see how world cinema is accepting, incorporating, and applying this movement in films, right? I hope it is clear. Now moving on to the second movement, we have Soviet montage. I've already told you it was the first film school in Russia, VGIK, and there the filmmakers, the film editors, they used to come and give workshops. Now the important feature of Soviet montage is they wanted to create awareness in the minds of the audience. They wanted to create intellectual minds of the audience. See, in German expressionism, the filmmaker is doing what? Through illusion, through fear, they are actually playing with the psychological mind of the audience. But Soviet montage, they wanted the audience to be intellectual. They are opposite to German expressionism. They wanted the audience to think while watching the film, to participate in the film. Like, for example, if we are showing any particular shot, then the next shot we are showing, the audience should, think over it. What will be the third shot now? Or what will be the meaning of this shot? So this is called intellectual movement. Now, if I'm saying montage, most of you know the meaning of montage. It is one kind of editing. Editing means joining of shots or assembling of shots. But how it is different from normal editing? In montage, we are joining, we are assembling the shots and making a package, and this package has a meaning, right? It conveys some idea, some meaning. Normally, the normal editing may or may not convey some meaning, but montage is something, it's a package, it's a kind of editing, and it conveys some kind of meaning. That's why it's assembling of shots, and that shot is giving some kind of meaning. It is called montage. Juxtapositioning of shots, that means we are joining together 2, 3, 4 shots together, and then we are getting some meaning of it, out of it. And that all the shots are at the different places. Maybe you are taking one shot of me. I'm giving class from my, from my place, from my room, and then another shot of another person, and then you are joining them together. It will give the meaning that yes, a class is happening, right? So this is called juxtapositioning of shots. Now, it is also important to understand the methods of Soviet montage. Though we have little time, but I'll try to explain them in a very simple manner. Intellectual montage, I've already tried to explain you. So let's take an example of intellectual montage. Suppose there is a man with a stoned or very, weird expressions. There is a shot of this man for 5 seconds. Then in another shot, we have a shot of a knife, a very large and very, sharp knife. Now, what do you think? What will be the another shot, or what is the meaning of this particular shot? When we have joined 2 shots in one shot, a weird expression of a particular character, and then we have joined, juxtapositioned another shot with that after that, and the another shot is of a knife. We might think that this man is, going to kill someone. So we will use our mind, we will use our intellectual minds in order to, think over it. But if third shot comes of an apple, that means this man was hungry. So the meaning it is giving is hunger. Suppose the third shot comes of a girl. That means this man wants to kill this girl, right? So this is called intellectual montage, where our audience is continuously participating with the shots, right? So you can see here a still and weird face of the character in first, version. And when we are showing the someone, maybe his relative, maybe his beloved is in the coffin. So it's a sadness. The meaning is sadness. Or in second view, we have a plate full of soup. So there it gives a meaning of hunger. And in third one, lust, when there's a girl. So this is called intellectual montage. So the filmmaker is playing with the minds of the audience, wants the audience to be interactive and participatory while watching the film. Then comes the rhythmic montage. Rhythmic montage, as the name suggests, it is to do with the music, sound, audio. Means when we are showing some kind of visuals, the visuals should, have a suitable music with it. For example, if visuals are having a, slow pace, the speed is slow, then the music should also be of slow pace. If the visuals are of high pace or going at, very fast pace, so then music will also follow in the same manner. This is called rhythmic montage, right? So we give sound effects. Maybe a character is, climbing down from a staircases. So the kind of sound effect we are giving it like a rhythmic montage. We are following the steps, the footsteps of the character. We are giving the sound effects according to the visuals. We are giving the sound effects or the music according to the visuals. This is called rhythmic montage. Tonal montage means one shot is joined with another shot with another shot. It has the psychological toner similar, a similar psychological toner. That means if we are watching, students are there in the class. So if you are showing one student, the psychological, mood and the tone of one particular shot of one particular student should match with the another student shot. So because they all are sitting in one particular class, they are all are getting, very interesting. They are finding the class to be very interesting, or they are getting very bored with the class. So look at the, psychological effect of all the students when we are particularly specifically covering them with the shots. So this is called tonal. If something has happened, some bomb blast has happened, obviously when we are showing the reaction of different people, then the tone, the psychological tone of all these people, they should be similar. This is called tonal montage. Metric montage, montages that has little durations. We have shots with little duration, maybe of 2 to 3 seconds only, maybe 2 seconds only, and we are showing it in a very, fast pace. A very good example is shower scene from the film Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho film that came in 1960. Just recall that shower scene when this psychopathic person is, coming to murder this lady when she's taking shower in her, bathroom. So we cannot see the murderer properly. We cannot see the character of this lady properly because we have more than 40 shots in 1 minute. And we are showing it with metric montage. Metric montage means duration is very less. So like this, we are showing we are showing it in a very, lot of shots in one particular small duration. So the impact is something that comes out from metric montage, the impact of curiosity, the impact of suspense. Now the overtonal. When we combine rhythmic montage, tonal montage, and metric montage, rhythmic, tonal, and metric montage, Then combining them together and putting them together in one particular scene, it becomes overtonal, right? So this was the Soviet montage. Now quickly we'll move to Italian neorealism. So Italian realism, it came in Italy post World War II, and World War II duration was 1939 to 1945. The main feature was the people were having, in actual real world, the people were having, crisis of food, medicine, health. They were unemployed. So the condition was this condition of the ordinary people, the common people, the labor class people. So the feature, the important thing is they were showing poverty. So see the name, neo-realism. Neo means new. Realism means reality. So here, because we are showing poverty, poor people, we don't have funds, but we are depicting the society. So the actors were non-professional. We'll take the example of Bicycle Thief. Here, only one actor was professional, other actors were non-professional. They didn't go to any training school, institute, or theater. They were common people only. So the filmmakers, they used to, ask the common people to come and act in the film. So because we don't have fund also, we have limited camera equipment also. Like we only have camera, and some places we used to, climb the tree, climb the building, and used to take long, wide angle shots, or, high angle shots, because we cannot afford the crane or other equipment. Also, we cannot equip the, tracks, trolleys. So what they used to do, they used to, take the wooden cart in which the vegetables are sold. So they used to mount the camera on that. Cameraman used to sit on that, and then they used to move it in order to take the tracking shot, because there was no funds. Realism, they used to show realism, reality, what is happening after World War II, how people are, coping up with the poverty. So it's a nice example, the Bicycle Thief. I'll request you all to just go through this small video of this particular film, so that you will get the idea of Italian neorealism. Okay, so this film, Bicycle Thief, is actually depicting the life of a family, a man who's living with the wife and two, children. So the elder one is, with this man only, the main character, and helping him with his work. So what happens? There was one job only, and hundred of people, they come for that job. The job is for putting the posters on the wall. But who will get that job? Who has the cycle? So this person had the bicycle, but he has to, get it repaired and all these things. So the wife sells the bed sheets, and gets the money and gets the, bicycle repaired. And then one day, a thief takes away the cycle, and then he struggles. The main character struggles for his bicycle, but ultimately he has to also indulge in such activity of thieving, of stealing somebody else's cycle. But because he is innocent, he is, he's not professional thief, so he gets caught, and then he has to, forgotten, forgiven by the people, because he has that kid also along with him. So this is how the, ordinary world, full of poverty and crisis of no job, no food, this is how they depicted in the films. Not only Italy has shown it, but other part of cinema also have shown it. So you can very, nicely give the examples. What are the films now who are actually working on Italian neorealism, who are actually working on the crisis who are actually working on the realism. So those are the examples of Italian realism. We can still discuss it later on while having the question answer round. Now moving on, the last movement we have French New Waves. As we have already talked about French New Waves in our portrayal for women. So there we have said that there was a change. There was a rejection of tradition, normal traditions. So this is French New Waves, and how it is started. Few French critics who used to write for a magazine, they used to write, analyze the work of auteurs. Auteurs means authors, means the film directors who have their own style, who have their own originality. So these film critics, they thought, why not to become filmmakers and bring our own style, on originality. So they said that let's do something different. So what they did, they rejected the traditional way of filmmaking, the traditional content, the good side of hero, good side of protagonist, maybe male or female. They wanted to show the gray side of it, the negative side of the characters. They wanted to bring the bold scenes in the films, like bold scenes of female and the nudity. They also de-emphasize the plot, dialogues. They actually given emphasis on the improvisation. So there was a lot of jump cuts and jerks. Why? Because they have asked the characters to improvise, and character was improvising means taking their own time to start the dialogue, to sit, to stand, to move within the frame. So this was kind of improvisation within the dialogue, within their movement. So when the editor was editing the film, so the editor was finding it very difficult, because it was very lengthy and boring, these scenes which were result of the improvisation. So they have to cut it in between, and that created jump cuts, that created jerks, that actually disbalance the continuity. So this film is full of jump cuts. When we are talking about French New Wave cinema, films are full of jump cuts. Obviously there are other features also. So let's quickly watch a clip of Breathless, and then see how they have used the features in that particular film. We're not talking about the traditional films where the hero or the main characters should be, in a very positive persona. This man, this male protagonist, the male character, has committed crime, has killed someone, has stolen a car also, and killed a cop who was following him. So he's a negative character. They have rejected the positive things from the traditional films and their content. This girl, the girlfriend of this character, she's also shown in a very bold and little bit of negative characters features. So the story is about this man who has who's chasing and gets the set gets the help of the girlfriend and staying with her after he commits crime. Then the policeman comes, tries to follow this man. The girlfriend helps the policeman, and then he dies, the main character. So what is exactly happening? They are focusing on the kind of cult films that are not followed with the conservative or standard or within the norms of the society. So one thing is that. Second is bold scenes. Look at the female, the bold scenes, the kind of nudity they are showing through women. So these are certain bold elements that they have incorporated. Jump cuts. Obviously, when you see the film in detail, also in the car scene, you have noticed that the face of the girl was on the right side. Suddenly it comes on the left side. So it's like that. So there was a lot of jump cuts in between. So this is the French New Waves. And obviously we have in the contemporary films also, cinema also, we have French New Waves features, elements where we can fit most of these features, right? So along with this, we also go and talk about the contemporary cinema. What happened actually after 60s, there were a lot of experimental films were happening worldwide. in American cinema also, European also, Asian cinema also, a lot of experimental art cinema was coming. So in the end of 1960s or early 70s, lot of multinational corporation or companies, they came and they captured, they controlled the production houses. They took over the studios and they said no to experimental films. They said that we will give you the guidelines. It was actually first started in American and European cinema. These multinational companies, because they were having a lot of money, they actually bought these production houses or studios, and they wanted to bring a great change in the style of filmmaking. So they asked the American and European cinema filmmakers to make the films according to their guidelines. So first guidelines was neo noir. Neo means new, noir means dark. So there was a time in 30s, 40s where we were working with dark films, noir films, where we are showing the characters with negative characteristics or gray side of the character. We used to show the shadows of the characters. We used to take low key lighting. So that was noir. But now the first guideline was just go opposite to it. Just change it to neo noir. That means bring new thing in this dark cinema. Don't make dark cinema. So new things means updated content. Updated content means whatever is happening in the society right now, because it's the name has been given contemporary of that time, means what was happening in American society, European societies in the early 70s. What was their culture? Their culture was what? The young, the youth, whatever the youth was doing, it becomes their culture. So they said, just follow the culture, just follow the updated content from the society. This is called neo-noir. If the young generation is with drugs, show drugs. If they are with violence, show violence. So just come up with updated content. Along with updated content or your second guidelines was smart cinema. Why we are calling any cinema a smart cinema? Because whatever we are watching within the cinema, within the shot, within the scene, the gadgets, the equipment, everything that we are watching within the cinema or within the scene or within the film, they are very smart. We call smartphone because of the features, and features are there within the cell phone. Similarly, we have updated features, means the characters are with laptops, with new gadgets, with new cars, with new elements. This is called smart cinema. Don't show poverty, poorness. All these things, are updated as per MNC's guideline. So bring a lot of new things, new features within this cinema as sets and properties around it and surrounded by the characters. Now the third one is advanced technologies. Advanced technologies means outside the cinema, not within the cinema, but outside the cinema. When you are making the film, make use of advanced cameras, advanced lighting, advanced editing softwares, advanced technologies, SFX, VFX. Just make use of advanced technologies. We have money, we will give you the money. Don't worry about it, but go for advanced technologies. This was the third guidelines given by MNCs. Fourth was new pure cinema, based on LGBTQ, that we should not mock on it, we should not laugh on it, we should not show this community people or subplots or some kind of stories about these people in the film as comedy factor, as an entertainment factor. No, bring new pure cinema, means bring them as as important element community, and you can also work with them, like you can take them as a main character or protagonist also. If you remember, we have seen that film today, watermelon women. So there they are talking about LGBT community, and the main protagonist was that female who was lesbian. So this was again the guidelines by MNC, and the last guidelines was new black cinema. Earlier, the black cinema was actually a biased, discriminating cinema where they were talking about black skin. But now multinational companies, they said, no, black cinema means you have to bring new black cinema, and new black cinema means you're talking about violence, you are talking about war, you're talking about battle. So this is new black cinema. It is not based on any skin, any color, right? It should be away from racism, discrimination. Black cinema, new black cinema means violence, war, battle, right? This is new black cinema. Like, good example is film Bombay that Dr. Maggie has just shown. So there was a lot of riots, violence. This is called new black cinema. So just the last thing is transporting. Let's watch this particular. This is an European film. So what was the culture of American and European society in the early 90s when this film was made? It was on youth, whatever the youth was doing, and youth was so much involved with violence, with drugs, with smoke, with alcohol, with sex. So all these things have been very nicely projected in this film as updated content and strong visuals. Obviously, smart cinema, all the gadgets that we have seen in and around the characters, we can see that it is a smart cinema, and there's no darkness in it. If we are showing the negative characters also, if our main character is also negative, we are showing them with brightness. So also the core element is also present there. Violence is present there. The use of advanced technology, camera, lighting, the editing suits, the labs and all the softwares, VFX, spatial effects, all these are advanced. So this is one of the example when we talk about contemporary cinema guidelines given by MNCs. Another 5 minutes I will take, and it's a very simple subject. It will, open your mind about the importance of film festival.
Because
so festival, yes.
Because
yes.
Are you available tomorrow morning, Ji? If it is possible, we can share tomorrow morning also along with Benny for the Benny.
I think it will cover in another 4 or 5 minutes only.
Okay, Ji. Okay.
It won't take that much of time. Okay, simple film festivals are organized events at which many films are shown. If I'll ask you that what is the importance of film festival, you will say that we can exhibit or screen our films. This is true. We can do that. Filmmakers, young filmmakers, or professional filmmakers, we can exhibit and screen the films at the film festival. Also, we can sell the films. As a director, we can sell the film to the producer. Producer can sell the film to distributors. Distributor can sell the films to cinema chain or the sub-distributors territory-wise, and then to cinema hall owners, and then it will reach to the audience. There's a simple selling of the film that is also happening in the film festival. Along with this, there are certain other things that happens in the film festival. One, if I have made a film and I want the other country audience or international audience to expose it, to just explore my film, just to, they should know about my film. So film festival are one of the important platform that other country and other countries audience, they get to know about your film. Second is test screening. Test screening means you have made a film, and before its box office release, or before it's, say, like its commercial release, you are showing it at the film festival and getting the feedback, getting the suggestions, so that you can change little bit. You may change the ending, or whatever change or modification you want to bring, you can bring with that. So test screens, it means test screens. Marketing exercise, obviously, if you have got any award already or you have received award from this particular film festival, it is very important for marketing. Then reviews and interviews. The press will come, the journalists will come, film critics will come, they will write about your film, it will get, promoted. So another marketing exercise. And then selling the film that we have just discussed, that for selling the film, we need to have this kind of platform. Then learning, because we have a lot of, filmmakers, professional filmmakers and mature filmmakers, a lot of professors, a lot of people from this film fraternity, film background. So they are present there. So it's a learning experience with master classes, with conferences, discussions. So we get to know a lot about other films also, their technologies also, what kind of cinema, smart cinema has made, what advanced technologies they have used. So we listen to a lot of behind the scenes, that how they managed to make these films or create this kind of scene. Then we have networking. Obviously, a lot of filmmakers, industry people are there. So if we are new, we are maintaining the networking with them. We are sharing our visiting cards with them. So another important thing. And then we have platform for new talent, whether we are new filmmaker, director, or we are, artist, new artist. So we get the platform to become, known and famous. Then obviously, if we see the country wise, it promotes or enhance the tourism and local economy also, apart from all these important things. Thank you. Now we can move on to the question answer round. Before that, let me give you the assignment number 3 for this particular session. We have gone through 4 important film movements. You have to choose one film movement. And with that film movement, you have to just click one photograph from your mobile, one still picture only from your mobile. What you have to do, you have to create a character. Then you have to also work with the ambience, the setup around the character. Your character, his expressions, emotions, the set designing around the character should represent his or her situation. That means, for example, if I'm taking German expressionism, what I will do, I will take any one character from my family or from wherever. I will paint his or her face. I will make him or her horrified, right? And then I will also put some kind of set around the character. So I'm doing what? I'm enhancing fear. I'm enhancing fear with the character, with his or her expressions, and with the set designing also, and just clicking one picture and then sending it to me. This is German expressionism, right? For example, another example, if, for example, you have a help at your place. By help, I means maid or someone who's, coming to your place and you giving you domestic help. Just capture him or her in her realism. Whatever she's wearing, how she's dressing up, all this, normal makeup only. No need to give makeup like German expressionism. Just capture, maybe she's sitting and eating something that you have given to her. So she's hungry, she's taking that food. So this will give the feature of Italian neorealism. Or in another way, you can work on French New Wave also, some kind of, bold visuals that you can work on, right? So this is up to you, how you want to take it. So this is again is having the deadline of tomorrow evening, or till night also you can send, and definitely I will give you the feedback on both the or 3 of your assignments that you will submit to me. Now question answer round. related to topic, related to anything beyond the topic, related to your assignments?